What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be taking a look at the unboxing and review here of the MegaSize model RX-78-2 Gundam. This is the kit that started off the MegaSize line, and I've kind of already reviewed this. I did an unboxing and review of the clear color version of this a couple of years ago, but I recently picked this up and we're going to do a tutorial series on, not a tutorial, kind of work in progress series on how to fix the seam lines, how to paint this up, and all of that. So because this is just kind of the standard version of this kit, I figure I should do some sort of just simple review of this kit here first before we get into working on it. So we're going to take a look at this here. Around on the box art, you can see a really cool picture of the kit there. I love the MegaSize kits just because of how detailed they are. Now, they don't have a ton of articulation. As you guys know, they're pretty simple in their construction, but they have a lot of surface detail and they look really nice when they're all painted up. It's very huge as well, coming in at 375 millimeters or 37.5 centimeters tall. It's going to be very large. These are 1/48 scale. This is the largest scale that Bandai makes. Generally, there are a couple model kits I know that are a little bit larger, but we won't really count those because they're not really actually like in production or anything. So take a look around the other sides here. The size of the box, pretty much the same thing. We have a little bit of an action pose there with the Gundam firing beam rifle. On the bottom side of the box here, it's just got some information about this. Now, these are meant to be no tools required, so they're kind of like SD kits. You can just snap the parts off the runners pretty easily, but I still would recommend using nippers anyway, just so you don't mess up your parts at all. You don't need any adhesive. Obviously, you can just snap them together. That's not really anything new. Point 3 is that it comes with this little mini magazine inside, which gives you some helpful tips and advice for doing some painting and modification to the kit. Point 4 over here, talking about how you kind of like slap the runners together in order to build certain parts of the kit. It does come with a part separator there, which you can use for separating the parts from the runners. And this part is really cool. So on the number of the part, so like on the runner you have like part number 5 there, but next to the number it has a little symbol there. And it shows you which part of the kit that part is for. So it doesn't really, not really necessarily mean you're following the manual anyway. You don't really need that, but it's a kind of cool little thing. Point 7 over here I think is just highlighting the fact that the kit for the most part is pretty color accurate there. We have a bunch of different colors. All the standard colors included. And then point 8 is also one of the really great points about the MegaSize line, is that it actually does come with some water slide decals as well. So that's really awesome. And then around on the top of the box we just have some action poses here, just showing you a couple different poses that you can do with the kit. It does include the beam sabers as well, and the beam saber effect parts, all that. And moving over here we have a comparison image, how it looks compared to a 1/44 scale kit. Obviously it's gigantic. And then once again, the sample builds from the little mini magazine that's included inside. Now the list price for this kit coming in at 7,800 yen. So inside here you can see we got all the parts there. You got the water slide decals right there on top as well. Not a huge runner, but at least you got some of the main markings there for the RX-78-2 Gundam. And we'll go through all the runners in a moment, but first let's just take a look at what we've got included here paper-wise. This is the mini magazine which I was talking about, so it's kind of two-sided. On one side this is the Hobby Japan side, and on the other side, if you go the opposite way, this is the Dengeki Hobby side. Now, in the Hobby Japan side, it's going to give you just some like general tips, how to cut the parts cleanly off the runner so you don't have nub marks and all that, how to remove nub marks, giving you kind of 1, 2, 3 technique, cutting the part off, leaving a nub there, cutting a little bit off first, and then cutting it clean off second. So that's typically what I do as well for my nub removal technique. And then how to apply water slide decals, all pretty simple. There's a nice big reference photo there. This one is painted though. And then in the next page, how you can add some cool details here by just drilling into the end of the beam saber and adding that little wire detail by just adding a little piece of little brass rod into there. So that's pretty cool. Actually, that's a good idea. I should do that for my build. I'll probably just end up doing that. It's easy enough. A little modification you can do to that. We also got a couple of tips in here for seam line removal here on the shoulder armor by cutting that apart in a little bit different way. So we'll talk about that again more in the work in progress down here as well for the seam line on the foot. And then just some painting, by painting the panels in little slightly different colors, you get that cool effect, kind of like RG style effect there with the painting of that. And over here, just some small little details that you can add to the backpack. So that's pretty cool. I'll just use this kind of as a guide for my work in progress video. We'll just maybe try to apply a lot of these suggested techniques to my work in progress on my builds, that I'll be able to show you these techniques. So I'll check this out in more detail, and we'll demonstrate all of these in the work in progress video after this. So in the end, here's just a look at their painted sample build there. Got some nice photos of that. Here on the next page, just a couple more photos of that, just different, the black background there. So this is the Gundam full detail up. So you got some nice big photo references for that. Now, if we go to the opposite side, in the Dengeki Hobby side, we've got some tips for just doing the panel lining and just using the Gundam markers there for panel lining. Pretty simple technique there. And then step 2, just flat coat. So if you want to just bring out the detail, give it a coat of flat coat. That's obviously going to be a good way to make the most out of the kit with the least amount of effort. like that. You can use that technique. You can also use the Gundam weathering markers to make some kind of streaking effects and that on here. Again, just kind of the basics of just some simple weathering techniques using markers and all that for this, around making some like chipping around on the hands using the silver marker like that. So you can do all that, and this would be kind of the finished result of doing just that, just some panel lining, a little bit of weathering on that, and then just some top coat. So pretty simple. But then we get into the real type color, and this is what we're going to do with mine. This is what I want to do with my kit. I want to paint it up in the real type colors, and it won't be exactly like this. They've gone for like a super desaturated look for the real type color scheme for this. I don't want to have it that desaturated because you can barely tell that's green. It's kind of meant to have some green sections on there. It doesn't really quite look it, but you've got a bunch of nice reference photos for that. So this will be kind of the general look that I'll be going for with my build, but the colors will vary slightly. You can get an idea of that. So I want to paint this up in real type colors. I think it's going to look really cool. So there's just some nice sample photos of that, and that's it for this. We just have the manual here. This is going to be pretty standard. There's nothing really too much to see in this. It's kind of your standard Gunpla manual. We have the parts list here on the back. It's in full color. That's nice. Actually, the manual is all in full color, so that's cool. And for the first couple steps, just make sure you follow the instructions carefully, because it's a bit confusing because you have like these like sections that will give you like helpful tips, but it's all in Japanese. So for non-Japanese speakers, I find this part of the manual can be a little bit confusing because you have like a lot of stuff going on here, and it's relatively simple. Just pay attention to what you're doing and you won't have any trouble. So again, the construction is very simple. It's basically like a gigantic high grade, and a simple high grade at that. So let's get into the runners. Alright, first up we got polycaps, a load of them, PC 500. We got 2 of these. And we got our Beam Saber effect parts, which is technically runner Z from 2000. I believe these are the perfect grade Beam Saber effect parts, so they're actually in 1/60 scale, but that's okay, close enough. These are in just clear pink. Here's just a closer look at the waterslide decals that get included with here. So you have the white base logos, a couple of EFSF logos there, and then just some kind of general caution markings to go around on the kit. Alright, runner A is our 4-color runner here. We got 1 clear yellow part up there for the eyes, 1 black part down here for around the eyes, some red parts over here, and then all the rest of our yellow parts for the kit here. Runner B, here we have some of our white armor parts. You can see we have 2 halves for the Beam Saber handles, so you will have a seam line down the middle of the Beam Saber handles as well, which kind of sucks. Then we got parts for the shoulder armors, parts for the arms, parts for the legs, and we've got 2 of this B runner. And then some more white armor parts here on the C runner as well. You can see some giant parts there for the legs, the feet, the knees, the ankle armor, the side skirt armor. We've got 2 of this C runner as well. And then the rest of our white armor parts here on the D runner. Some more parts for the head and some skirt armor parts there as well. Runner E is our 3 blue parts here for the body. Runner F is a couple of red parts there for the midsection and on the shield. Runner G here is an ABS, so this is for a couple of the joints on the kit, I think mostly in the legs, and I think these are for the shoulders. And then this is our part separator. Here we've got 2 of this G runner, so you actually will have 2 part separators that you can use for stuff. Runners H1 and H2 are conjoined together here, and this is parts for the joints, again pretty much all in the legs. I think here for this we got 2 of this runner, and this is the runner that you will put these together like this to make your different parts. Now there's some polycaps that need to go in there between them, but you just pop those together like that to form your joints for like the knees, and the ankles I believe are also formed by this runner as well, but that's pretty cool. Runner I is some more joint parts for the hips, some parts for the backpack, the hands, the neck, and then this part here for in the chest. Runner J is our red parts here for the feet, so we've got 2 of these naturally. Runner K is our weapons holding hands, and then our beam rifle and a couple other little parts on there. And then runners L and M are just the 2 main parts of the shield here, so you'll have just these gigantic parts which will make up the 2 main parts for the shield. So that is it for the runners and everything. I'm going to get this all built up and then we'll see how the kit comes together. Alright, yeah, so here's how it's going to look straight out the box, and yeah, compared to an HG, as you can see, it's going to be pretty gigantic. So it's going to be really hard to do a whole lot with this in terms of just showing you guys the kit, reviewing the kit, in terms of spinning it around on my base, because it's just too huge to do that. But I will give you guys a look around the kit here. You got some really nice color separation up there in the head. I love the yellow part for the Vulcans. You have a white piece which goes behind the clear yellow part for the eyes, so those eyes are going to be shining nice and brightly. You have a black piece in there for around the eyes, and also goes in there for the vents, and also behind the little vents on the front of the face, the black part is behind there as well. And so these little vents on the front of the face also are cut out there, so that's nice. These vents on the front of the chest here, you have a gray part up inside there, so if you painted that in like a silver or something, you'd actually be able to see the details, the vent details up behind these yellow vents. Pretty nicely up in there. Around here on the backpack, you got some nice detail there. Those little vent details are on the side and everything. The camera parts in the head, the camera on the front and the back, is an actual red piece of plastic, so there's no stickers for the head cameras front and back. Here on the crotch, the separate piece there, the yellow piece for the V on the front of the crotch there. So let's go ahead and just talk about some of the articulation here. First, the head is just on a ball joint, so it's not going to move all that much, just up and down just like that pretty much, and you can just rotate it, of course. The torso doesn't really bend forward and back, side to side at all. You can just rotate that a little bit side to side, and that's going to be really all the movement you'll get there out of the torso, the main body section. The shoulder will swing forward and back ever so slightly, just a little bit like that. The shoulder armor can't really be rotated at all up and down either. You can only just bring the arm up to there, about 90 degrees to the body. That's about it. Otherwise you can just rotate that normally and bend that at the elbow joint for, once again, just about 90 degrees. That's going to be about it. The wrist that is just on a ball joint there as well. The skirts, the front skirts are just on ball joints, so those will move up to about to there. You can bring the leg up all the way up to there, once again about 90 degrees. These side skirts are just on pegs, so those will just move up and down a little bit. You can rotate those a little bit side to side. That's about it. The back skirt, this is just all one big fixed piece there at the back. As far as the backpack, these thruster belts also don't move. They're fixed in there. The beam saber handles are just fixed in there, of course, so nothing moves on that. For the legs, though, we have some rotation at the top of the leg there. You can bring these far out to the side pretty nicely, but we don't have any sort of action base that I know of that can hold this, so you're not really going to be able to put this in any aerial pose anyway. That said, if you guys do know of an action base that works for this, then let me know. Maybe try to get my hands on one. But you can bring the leg forward, and then you have your knee bend there, which is going to give you, once again, about 90 degrees. That's going to be about the extent of that. This forward front ankle armor will move up and down on its own like that. The ankle itself move forward to there, down to there, and then you do have a little bit of side to side movement here in the ankle as well. Up underneath the feet, some nice detail there, so you've got all your bases covered. The articulation, as you can see, is pretty basic. And once again, for his accessories, of course, you got the two beam saber handles, so once that's pulled out of there, you can plug this into here. Then you got your two weapon holding hands. The right one I've just already got here on the beam rifle. The secondary grip will move side to side like a normal Gundam beam rifle. The camera will also move side to side a little bit there as well. Otherwise, it's just basically two big pieces slapped together for the most part. But yeah, our other weapon holding hand also has the trigger finger extended. I'm not sure why. You could hold the beam rifle in this hand if you wanted to, so I guess that's why. But if you're going to be holding the beam saber, it's going to look, I think, a little bit weird. It looks a little bit strange having the trigger finger extended like that. Now, the other thing about these parts, and just this kit in general, and MegaSize kits in general, is that taking the pieces apart, like taking this hand apart in order to hold the weapon, is kind of tricky because of the size of these parts. Taking anything apart on them, you really will use that part separator that's included with this, because you really need to, in a lot of cases, to be able to take pieces apart, especially taking this apart to paint it. But there you go, that's how it holds the beam saber. So yeah, again, it looks a little bit strange with the finger extended like that, so I wish we would have got another set of hands that don't have the trigger finger extended, that are meant to be holding just the beam saber handles. And then lastly, our shield, again, looks nice. You have a lot of space on here for sticking a gigantic logo on there if you wanted to. You have the connector here on the back. Now this will just connect into the back of the arm, so you can plug this either onto the side of the arm or onto the back of the arm, or you can take this connector piece and turn it around the opposite way, plug it in like that, and then this can be plugged onto his backpack around back on here, into the center of the backpack like that, for storage on his back, which is pretty cool. So just again, as you guys can see, the articulation not going to be the strong point of this kit, and the construction also very simple, but obviously the main draw of this kit is just going to be the gigantic size and some really nice details on there. That said, all the really nice details aren't totally uninterrupted by some nasty seam lines that this kit does have, because it has quite a few of those, which we'll highlight here in just a moment. Whether you want to put yourself through the work of removing all the seam lines or not, either way you're going to have a really big, impressive model for your display base, or just your desk, or anywhere at your house, your office, your business, your place of work. It's going to definitely draw some attention wherever it's placed. So even if it's just snapped up from straight out of the box, I think it's going to be something that is going to be really impressive. Alright, so just as the final point to this video, we'll go ahead and point out where all the seam lines are on this kit, and I'll use my big white man marker here, and then that will sort of also act as a transition into our work in progress once we get started on this in the near future here. So first off, the shield, no seams on that, thank God. We do have some here on the beam rifle. A seam down the front of there, here, here, and here, 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 under here. Handle has a seam all the way around that. Here, here, under here, on the head, all the way around there, on the top of the torso here, top of the shoulder around here, even the beam saber handles here. Nothing on the upper arm, luckily, but the forearms, of course, front and back. We got seam line all the way down those. Even on the hands, unfortunately, you have a seam line down the thumb of those. Like with the arms, the upper leg, the thigh is okay, but the lower leg, we've got one down the front here, this side to here. Probably the worst one here on the back of the leg, all the way down the back of the leg, all through all this detail. Little one here on the back of the foot, front ankle armor of course, and also the top of the foot. So as you can see, we're going to have our work cut out for us with this kit, but it should look great when it's all done. So that's it for the review, guys. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any other further questions or comments, feel free to leave those down below. And I'll see you guys in the work in progress very soon. Have a great one, guys. Bye-bye.